Welcome to NTD News. I'm Stephania Cox. All of Florida is now under a state of emergency as residents continue to clean out supermarket shelves and gas stations in preparation for Hurricane Dorian's landfall Monday evening, likely with Category 4 strength.
Dorian centers about 445 miles east of the northwestern Bahamas and is currently classed as a Category 3 hurricane with sustained winds of 115 miles per hour. It's traveling northwest at 10 miles per hour for now, but it's expected to slow down and gain strength as it approaches Florida on Monday evening.
We have a state of emergency issued in Florida for all 67 counties. The precise path of the storm is still somewhat uncertain, and that's the reason for all 67. But the intensity of the storm, I think there's a pretty high degree of certainty that this is going to be a major hurricane.
President Donald Trump, who called off his visit to Poland this weekend, promised that help for Florida is on the way.
And now it's looking like it could be an absolute monster. We're ready. We have the best people in the world ready, and they're going to help you.
Florida's National Guard has preparations well underway.
We expect about 2,000 soldiers and airmen from the Florida National Guard mobilized by the end of the day today. By the end of the day tomorrow, it will probably be doubled by about 4,000.
Residents are advised to have 7 days of food, water, and medicine on hand and to keep an eye on storm updates, but they're not the only ones taking precautions. NASA is moving its mobile launch platform safely indoors before the rain and winds begin. And Kennedy Space Center will also be closing its doors Sunday and Monday. If Dorian reaches Florida as a Category 4 storm, it would be the strongest hurricane to strike Florida's east coast since Hurricane Andrew in 1992.
Attorneys for Michael Flynn, a former national security advisor for the Trump campaign, are asking for more time before he's sentenced. They say the government has yet to give them access to confidential materials that could help his case.
Flynn's attorneys have requested an intervention by the court to get access to the classified materials. They're also requesting a 90-day extension to be able to review them. Attorneys for the government said in court filings that they are not aware of any classified material they are required to disclose. They also said that they have gone above and beyond what they were required to hand over. Michael Flynn pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI about a conversation he had with Russia's ambassador in 2016. Although he pleaded guilty last year, his sentencing has been delayed to allow him to cooperate with the government in several investigations. One of those investigations was by Robert Mueller. Last year, Mueller's team suggested giving Flynn a lighter sentence because of his cooperation. The judge has scheduled a hearing for September 10th.
The U.S. is getting lower numbers of migrants at its border with Mexico since it expanded its migrant protection protocols. Mexico is also working out how to manage the change.
U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kevin McAleenan is visiting El Salvador this week, where he signed a pact to increase collaboration on migration issues and law enforcement. He also praised new El Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele's efforts to stem the tide of migrants to the U.S. According to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, there has been a substantial drop in monthly apprehensions in June and July. This is partially attributable to the implementation of the migrant protection protocols that allows the U.S. government to return illegal immigrants entering from Mexico to wait there while their asylum applications are processed. In this protocol, Mexico also provides them with humanitarian protections. The nonpartisan data research organization TRAC released stats on Monday showing nearly 12,000 Central American migrants were sent back to Mexico in July, accounting for just over 22% of new asylum applications in that month, compared with 5,000 in May. However, Mexico is under increasing pressure to resettle these immigrants.
Mexico's systems and their policies are set up for a system that is basically exporting people to the U.S. And you know, as a country and as a government, you have to have different policies that are more for receiving people, and they're not ready for that.
Yeboke said that the UNHCR has a new initiative to help Central American migrants settle down in Mexico.
They're taking migrants and refugees from the southern parts of Mexico, so Hondurans, El Salvadorians, etc., that have come up through the southern parts of Mexico, they're trying to place them in jobs in more economically vibrant parts of Mexico.
Yeboke believes that in general, what migrants want is the ability to work and support their families, rather than relying on assistance, and says the Mexican government should allocate more resources toward this. The United States has implemented the Migrant Protection Protocol since January of this year and expanded it in June through negotiations with Mexico. Reporting by Kitty Wong, NTD News.
And in New York, federal authorities announced that they foiled an ISIS terrorist attack in Queens. NTD's Miguel Moreno has the latest details on the case.
A rule enacted under then-President Barack Obama continues to regulate methane leaks in the oil industry, but the Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA, has proposed removing the rule, saying it would save the industry $17 to $19 million a year. This is in response to President Trump's executive order in 2017, which requires federal agencies to reevaluate existing regulations and to rescind unnecessarily burdensome rules. EPA Administrator Andrew Wheeler was quoted in the press release saying that since 1990, the natural gas industry has more than doubled, yet methane emissions across the gas industry fell 15%. Our regulations should not stifle this innovation and progress. Critics of the proposal are considering this a blow to climate change since methane is more efficient at trapping radiation than carbon dioxide. However, emissions from volatile organic compounds which produce smog would continue to be regulated under the proposal. A hearing on the proposed updates will be held in October. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
Another story from Miguel Moreno there. And across the U.S., many are expecting to get caught in congested traffic throughout the long Labor Day weekend.
Road traffic is likely to be busier this year as gasoline prices are down to the cheapest in 3 years of Labor Day weekend average, according to AAA. Airlines for America says there may also be a spike in air travel, with about 17.5 million passengers expected to fly U.S. airlines between August 28th and September 3rd. This is nearly a 4% increase over last year's 16.9 million passengers. Being the busiest commuter railroad in North America, Long Island Railroad is not only running extra trains on Friday afternoon, but will also restore normal rush hour service for the high volume of people coming back from their holidays.
To provide a service plan to the busiest commuter railroad, serving the 24/7 lifestyle that New York has.
As the long weekend arrives, people told us they chose to ride with mass transit to avoid busy traffic.
And it's only a 30-mile drive, but it could take you 3 to 4 hours.
We have Ubered it in the past, but we get stuck in New York traffic.
If you take the train, it's okay, but don't drive.
The good news is the worst time to travel has already passed. That was between 4 and 6 p.m. on Thursday, according to traffic tracking company INRIX. Another busy time to look out for across the nation will be 7 to 10 a.m. on Monday morning when people return from their trips. Reporting by Sydney Wong, NTD News, New York.
And in Hong Kong, 2 pro-democracy leaders of the Umbrella Movement were released on bail today. This amid mounting tension in the city and 5 years since the government denied its people universal suffrage.
Joshua Wong and Agnes Chow were charged on August 30th with unlawfully organizing a public meeting outside police headquarters on June 21st. Their case has been adjourned until November 8th. Wong told journalists outside the courthouse that they would never surrender.
Sending troops or using emergency ordinance is not the way out. We will continue our fight no matter how they arrest and prosecute us.
Wong, who led pro-democracy demonstrations 5 years ago during the Umbrella Movement, is the most prominent activist to be arrested since protests escalated in mid-June.
But we Hong Kong people won't give up and won't be scared by these white terror and injustice, but we will keep on fighting for democracy.
Meanwhile, police arrested several other activists and blocked plans for a mass demonstration on Saturday in a show of force a day before the 5th anniversary since Beijing rejected direct elections for the city's chief executive. Police later denied they timed the arrest of activists to coincide with a planned march. Wong said, without any leadership or direction, some protesters have vowed to hold creative events at the scheduled time and place to sidestep the ban.
No matter they ban the rally or not, no matter they arrest me or not, people will still come out to Hong Kong Island and we will have lots of people on street.
European Union's diplomatic chief Federica Mogherini expressed deep concern about developments in Hong Kong.
Definitely the developments in Hong Kong, especially over these last hours, are extremely worrying. We expect the authorities in Hong Kong to respect the freedom of assembly, expression and association, as well as obviously the right of people to demonstrate peacefully.
Protesters are expected to block roads around the airport on Sunday, with more demonstrations expected in coming days and weeks. Many pro-democracy activists are saying the government is trying to create a climate of fear or an atmosphere of white terror to deter any more organizers from scheduling more protests. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News, Hong Kong.
And the White House may have to respond to an online petition calling for the U.S. to label the Chinese Communist Party a terrorist organization. The petition received over 100,000 signatures, the threshold required to get a response from the White House. The We the People site, set up under President Obama, requires the White House to respond if the petition gets 100,000 signatures in 30 days. The petition text says it was motivated by the protests in Hong Kong. It lists the suppression of free speech and the press, money laundering, forced organ removal, and falsifying history as reasons for designating the Chinese Communist Party a terrorist organization. So, what is the solution for the achievement gap in public schools? A school diversity panel in New York City has come up with one answer: eliminate screenings in schools. But the plan aiming to address racial inequality is facing backlash from some who say the city is targeting high-performing schools but doing nothing to help the struggling ones. NTD's Penny Zhou has more.
The panel's plan published earlier this week suggests the city to get rid of academic screening in elementary, middle, and high schools, saying that selective schools tend to have disproportionately more white and Asian students. The Gifted and Talented program, one of the targets of the diversity plan, enrolls 40% Asian students, followed by 33% whites, 12% Hispanics, and 9% African Americans. However, African American and Hispanic students make up 70% of the city's entire student population. Max Eden, an education expert from the Manhattan Institute, said that although standardized tests that are currently used to select students do need reform, the education policy trend in New York reflects a deeper problem.
Here, what's at work is this kind of identity politics logic that all disparities must be a product of discrimination, like that doesn't just say that we should try to close the achievement gap by lifting people from the bottom up, but also it's unfair that people are doing well, so we have to tear them down too.
The diversity panel is appointed by the city's mayor Bill de Blasio, who is also a Democratic presidential candidate who sees desegregating public schools as a priority. Eden points to a staff training material by the city's Department of Education.
In that slide, he defines white supremacy as perfectionism, sense of urgency, worship of the written word, objectivity. So there's this ideology that equates the constituent components for excellence and for human performance and student achievement as being effectively white supremacy.
However, he said that Asian students have become an uncomfortable point for such narrative, since many of them come from low-income immigrant families. He said the plan may achieve the opposite effect it's aiming for, while rich parents can move their kids to private schools.
Immigrant communities of parents who are trying to instill values of hard work and academic achievement and excellence will be in a really tough spot.
The teachers' union raised concerns for the plan as well. Michael McGrew, head of the United Federation of Teachers, said that to integrate schools and improve education quality, the city should expand the gifted program, not eliminate them. The mayor hasn't made the decision of whether or not to adopt the plan and said he will after assessing it. Penny Zhou, NTD News.
U.S. public health officials today reported a surge in the number of people with severe illnesses linked to vaping. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention identified 215 cases across 25 states, including one adult in Illinois who died after being hospitalized. It could be the first death linked to vaping in the U.S. The CDC, Food and Drug Administration, and state health departments are investigating a cluster of lung illnesses that they believe may be linked to the use of e-cigarettes, though they are yet to confirm whether the illnesses were actually caused by vaping. A 61-year-old completed her journey in San Francisco after traveling across 12 states in 12 weeks. NTD reporter Eileen Eng joined her at the Golden Gate Bridge to hear what her travels were like.
As of this Saturday, Jane Sullivan will be completing her 12-week journey across the U.S., which she calls American Walk of Life, or AWOL.
This is Vista Point. We are north of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. This is also where we're meeting Jane so that we can join her in her journey across the Golden Gate Bridge, which is covered by Carl the Fog at the moment. Hopefully that'll clear up later on in the day.
She started in Delaware on June 5th and made her way west across 12 different states.
And each state I've had a different pilot, driver of my RV, so that I have somewhere to be safe in an evening when I'd finished my hiking or biking, whichever it may be.
So what was it like traveling across the states?
They were all brilliant in their own way, but all different.
She stayed in California most of her life, so she learned a lot after meeting people in so many other states.
For instance, plastic bags. In West Virginia, they would triple bag something, a carton of milk in plastic. And in California, I couldn't get a straw. I've seen children doing their own chores all along through America, mowing grass and helping with the chores. And yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, which I haven't seen here in California. So I see the stark difference of like old-time America to the modern California that I've only been used to.
She said people welcomed her wherever she went.
I was staying in people's homes. People were offering to do my laundry, inviting me around to have a meal with them. Really, really lovely, lovely people.
Sullivan was inspired after learning about Mary Joyce, a pioneer in Alaska in the 1930s. She realized that as people get older, they tend to sit and regret that they did not make memories.
Maybe try and paint a painting or throw a pot or garden and plant some trees, but something that when you're in your old age, you could say, I did that. Look what I did with my life.
She's also doing this to inspire the younger generation to put down their electronics and get out there and experience the world themselves. She describes this experience as life-changing.
I did love America before I left California to go on this journey, and now I'm really in love with America, and I want to return to Middle America.
I just crossed the bridge, so now I'm on the San Francisco side, south of the Golden Gate Bridge. And so Jane and her team will continue on her journey to the Cliff House before having a party and then going home in La Honda. Eileen Ng, NTD News, San Francisco.
The Brazilian president's son and the country's foreign minister are in the U.S. to seek help as fires rage in the Amazon. Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro said he asked President Trump for help and that Trump said he couldn't make a decision without hearing from Brazil. Bolsonaro is considering appointing his son Eduardo to become ambassador to the U.S. In addition, Brazil yesterday banned most legal fires for land clearing for 60 days in the Amazon, 60% of which land is within the country's borders. And forests in Bolivia are under pressure as wildfires have burned unconstrained across eastern Bolivia for over a week. The blazes have eaten up hilly tropical forest and savanna near Bolivia's border with Paraguay and Brazil. Take a look.
Burning trees could be seen silhouetted against the glowing night sky as fires ravaged Bolivia's Ñembiguazu conservation area late Thursday. Officials say at least 3,800 square miles have been impacted by the fires. Bolivian President Evo Morales has blamed the fires on drought. The fires in the scrubby forests in Bolivia's southeast are separate from, but concurrent to, thousands of wildfires also decimating the neighboring Brazilian Amazon. According to Miguel Crespo, the director of Bolivian NGO Probioma, this is contributing to Bolivia deforestation, which he says is #1 in the world per capita. We are among the 10 most deforested countries in the world. Another and more long-term menace to Bolivia's forests is deforestation due to the expansion of agriculture. It's been said that the government said that we must expand agricultural land by 2,471,054 acres to satisfy food security and sovereignty. In reality, this shows that there was an intent to open the agricultural areas in this region, despite the fact that the land use plan states that it is not a suitable area for agriculture, but rather for forests. Satellite photos provided by ProBioma show the creep of agricultural lands into green forests over the past 24 years.
And at the 76th Venice Film Festival, Brad Pitt speaking about space travel for his upcoming film, Ad Astra.
In Ad Astra, Pitt plays an astronaut who is sent to outer space to look for his father. His dad, played by Tommy Lee Jones, disappeared during a mission that is said to have been aimed at finding advanced extraterrestrial life, but also experimented with material threatening the entire solar system. When asked if he believes in extraterrestrial life,
I like to believe there is somewhere. To what degree? More advanced than us, less? Who knows? I like to believe that there is.
While he believes life exists outside of Earth, Pitt says he wouldn't be too keen to travel to space, even if given the chance.
Certainly in my younger years I would have. Now it's like, yeah, how long? How long do I got to be away from home, my loved ones? What's the setup? Camping? Nah. On the moon? Probably not.
Ad Astra will hit theaters on September 20th.
And that's all for today's NTD News. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Stephanie Cox.